Hey guys, back with an art journaling video here today. This one's really fun because besides the fact that I use gesso and a paint pen, I like a Sharpie paint marker, I use absolutely no acrylic paint on this project whatsoever. It's kind of fun. It's unique. For me, not for everybody, but for me, I purposely sat down and said, you know what? Don't pull out your go-tos. Try some new colors. Try or a new color combination. Use some supplies that you don't pull on that often, even though I've definitely collected them. I have a lot of supplies. I'm sure we can all agree to that. And so I'm starting with kind of the same way I always start, a little bit. Anyways, I'm getting off track. Let me get into this. A piece of Canson watercolor paper. I love working on Canson watercolor paper. It's heavy duty. It holds up to everything I'm doing to it. It never tears. It's awesome. I am using Liquitex Gesso. It's not an acrylic-based product, but because it's a primer, a base, and as I'm applying it, I'm kind of leaving bumps and ridges and swatches and just like really applying it kind of haphazardly, and that's giving me kind of like a texture in the background right away. So it's really neat. I am using a brand new squirt bottle that will debut at Wow Studio super soon, if not already online. Check it out. It has the finest mist in the whole entire world. It's wonderful. It's a 5-ounce bottle and they sell for 10 bucks on umwowstudio.com. So when you see this video, check it out. If you're seeing this video when it first comes out, and they may not be up yet, but anytime after that, go check it out. These water bottles are divine, to die for, incredible. And so instead of acrylic paint, I decided to use acrylic ink. So these are the Artist Acrylic Inks by Daler-Rowney. And they are actually really making the news right now because Hobby Lobby had decided to clearance out their line in their store. I'm sure they're going to replace it with something else. Daler-Rowney is still making these inks. It's just that Hobby Lobby didn't want to carry them anymore. So I started with the Purple Lake, and I dripped some drips around, and then I used that squirt bottle by Wow Studio and sprayed it and got this like really kind of dreamy, cloudy effect in the background. And it's really fun and really exciting, and you kind of just play with it to see what you get. And you don't let the paint, paint, I always use paint. You don't let the ink run too much to keep that cloudy effect. So you kind of just let it move a little bit, and you can even just set it to the side and let it dry as it is, or you can use a heat gun. And I did help mine along with the heat gun because I'm impatient, and then also I teach these classes in person, so I have to be able to dry things and not let them always sit to dry. So after that was permanent and dry, because it's acrylic ink, so once it's dried, it is permanent. After that was dried, I got out some, it was a fine liner. So inside the fine liner, oh yeah, I lied. Color me a liar. I'm sorry. Inside the fine liner is half airbrush medium and half fluid acrylic. So there is a tiny bit of acrylic, some black golden acrylic, and I splattered some, and then I used a jar to make a big circle. And this is kind of my focal point, or as I'm working on it, that's the idea, it's going to be my focal point. I also stamped it on a scrap piece of paper, and that's so that I can mask off this circle. And I'm attempting, you're gonna see, I get kind of crazy, but that's all right. I'm attempting to splatter around this circle so that the splatters are really condensed right up to that line that this jar made for the circle, and then it disperses and spreads out like a gradient away from the circle. That's what I'm attempting to do. But for some reason, because Murphy's Law, I guess, I'm trying to make these splatters organic, but very close to that circle. And there's like a funny line there that refuses to fill in. I don't know if that's because of where I'm holding the brush, or if the paper is sort of creating like a little void there, like not letting the ink, the paint flow. I'm not sure. It's really funny. It's also really annoying, but you kind of got to go with it at this point. So then I got out that same fine liner. Now this is the 18 gauge. The higher the number, the smaller the the opening. Okay, so this is the 18 gauge bottle, and I actually usually use a 20, which is finer and creates a like a nicer line, but I couldn't find it. And I assumed that it was downstairs, and I was in the middle of filming and like having fun, and I didn't really want to go downstairs and find it. So I put some big bold circles around there. This is me still trying to do that idea of like a hollow circle with a really dark edge that kind of gradiates out and fades away. And it's okay. So it's not fabulous, but it ends up fun. And in the end, I'm really happy with the page. At this point, I'll be quite honest with you, I'm hating it. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's this giant black circle of grossness on my page. And I do enjoy black on my pages fairly frequently. I just really wasn't aiming for that in this one. But it's okay because I'm out of my comfort zone. The colors I'm using purple, and then I'm going to reach for a pink and sort of like a mustardy yellow. Very specifically not my colors of choice. I love all colors. It's just that sometimes I, as an artist, do not use them all as well as I would like, and especially as well as other people. And I have to learn not to compare to other people all the time. I know that. I think we all know that, but it's really hard to get out of that, to stop doing that. Anyways, once my kind of like mess was done, I decided to embrace just how dark that circle was. And this is my carved X's that I just did for Viva Las Vegas stamps in the last few months. And, oh, I think the last few months. Time kind of runs together, doesn't it? Sorry. Sidetracked. And so carved X is a stamp I designed for Viva Las Vegas stamps. It's great because you can stamp it over and over and over and over. I used masks in this case. Like that big circle is the same piece I used before, so that I could kind of make the X's go along the circle without going inside it. And then I also just used a piece of paper down there to sort of mask off and play around with those X's there too. And so it's a Viva Las Vegas stamp. It's clean cushioned on an acrylic block, and I'm stamping with archival ink by Ranger. It's just a really nice, intense black. I'm a big fan. And I know that once it's dry, it will be absolutely permanent, which means I can keep going back in with other mediums and layering on top of it. And I'm loving what's happening to my underpaper also. It's very nice. It's going to have some fun things to it. I realized that some of that ink was still wet, so I kind of added a little water and did a little splattering. And then I thought, well, maybe that's not enough. And I realized that this whole kind of bottom corner there wasn't enough color there for me. I almost had too much white space. So I just put a little purple there and heat that. I do enjoy working with acrylics. I know that I tend to use a lot of acrylic paint, and that's because it is permanent when it's dry. But I definitely need to remember that I have these inks. Oh, and so I was saying earlier, so Hobby Lobby clearance them out, and I went down and picked up all the colors. I think I bought 41 bottles. It's a lot, I know, but I teach classes, and I'm that guy. Like, I have every color now, so I'm happy. This is the fluorescent pink, and I started using it in a very small amount, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of like it. It's looking nice. Adding it around, getting some more color on my page, because I also know I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone. My comfort zone is like teals and grays and sometimes like rust colors and neutrals a lot, and then a lot of black and white. So today I told myself, use colors you don't use very well, or maybe that you need to practice with. So I pulled out the purple and the pink, and I always also use like one color and then neutrals. So I told myself today, you have to use at least 3 colors. So I used the purple, and now I'm using this fluorescent pink, and it is incredibly delightful. I usually love making small dots like this, But as I keep going, I'm not loving them in the pink. And I think at the time, the reason was because where I had used the pink on the rest of the page, it had gotten diluted and it wasn't as fluorescent as these dots were turning out. So I'm not really happy with it. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. I put the lid back on the pink. Also, I learned that at a crop a couple weeks ago, do not leave your ink sitting around without the lid on them, because I tipped over a whole bottle of orange. That was awesome. Oh yeah, so then I'm thinking, you know what? I do love this pink. I love this fluorescent pink just like it is. I don't need to dilute it. I need the intense color, the full color. So using the wand, I started applying some of the ink around the page. And I am using some water just to help the ink flow a little bit, and so that it doesn't have super harsh edges, because I did really enjoy that sort of cloudy, watery effect that I got from the ink with the purple. So I'm trying to mimic that with the pink while still maintaining the intensity of the fluorescent pink. And I did it in the bottom left corner. Oh yeah, and so this is just a little cup and some of the ink and a little water, and I do a little splattering. I splatter a lot. I really like splattering, and it does a couple things. It helps fill in voids where there's like a lot of white space. It helps make that white space not be so white spacey, as funny as that sounds. And then also it helps the colors transition through the whole piece without having to have big splotches of the color in every area. Now I say that, and then after that pink corner was dry, I decided that I wanted some more pink. I really was enjoying that fluorescent pink and the purple working together, and they're pretty delightful. Very intense, and they have a lot of energy to them that I'm really liking. So I'm mimicking that bottom left corner in both of the top corners. And then I let everything dry, and I came back the next morning, and I'm glad I slept on it, because as I was sort of looking at it the night before, I thought, man, I don't really know, maybe I should add some green or maybe a blue. And then I thought, but I always kind of go towards greens and blues and teal specifically, so I should definitely get out some yellow or some orange. And then I was telling myself also, I want to do more mark making. I love mark making, but I don't want to do it in acrylic paint, and I've already used the inks a lot. So what can I pull out? And I decided to pull out some oil pastels. So these are oil pastels by Sakura of America, and they call them Craypaws, and they're wonderful. So they're oily and sort of waxy, and they have this like delicious, almost like lipstick. I mean, it's a little bit thicker than lipstick, but it smears like lipstick, and it's wonderful. It just is adding so much color and vibrancy to the page that I had been missing. And it's also a bit of warmth, so that purple is very cool, and because the pink is fluorescent, it's kind of just vibrant. It's not really cool or warm, but the yellow is bringing in a really, really beautiful warmth. And I love its complementary aspects that it has to the other colors that are on the page. I love the marks that I made with it, and then when I rub it into that background and get it to blend with some of that ink, those colors, oh, it's so good. I love it. I'm so glad I pulled them out. They're very fun. Then I got out my handy dandy water-based white Sharpie pen, and I'm going to create some small dots. So apparently I had small dots in the left corner on the brain, because I had tried to do them with the pink earlier, and maybe it was how non-uniform they were that I wasn't happy with, but I absolutely love the white over the pink, and because it's with a Sharpie paint pen, I can make them a bit more uniform in size. Even though they're kind of just stippled all over, they're more uniform as far as size and shape goes than I was getting with the paintbrush and the ink, and I'm loving them. I love it, love it, love it. So I kind of just go a little haywire, putting them all over the left side. somewhere here, let's see what's next. Somewhere here, I go back and I put more dots on top of that yellow color. Oh yeah, okay, so I was still stuck on the idea of this being like a super cool focal point, and up to this point in time, it just had the purple ink inside the circle. And I didn't feel like it was standing out enough, or it didn't hold its own. That's a good way to put it. Like I wanted it to be much more eye-catching and like eye drawing. I wanted you to go there first and then kind of explore what's happening in the page. And I don't have a reason. I'm just trying to I mentioned at the beginning, step out of my comfort zone. And I do love circles, but I don't usually have sort of this type of focal point. And I don't know how else to put it, but usually I have a stamp as a focal point or some words or something like that. But I really, today I was just focusing more on supplies and going in directions that I don't usually go. So I want a focal point that is part of the page, not a separate entity. So I'm doing some layers of gesso and I'm completely blotting out everything that's inside that circle. No more ink showing, no stamps went there, no splatters coming through, nothing. I think I did 5 or 6 layers of gesso to make this happen. And that's totally fine for me. I do a layer of gesso, I let it dry. Or I use my heat gun to dry it. Do a layer of gesso, heat, layer of gesso, heat. And now it's this sort of, and I don't even know how that happened, oblong circle. And it's very neat. And I know that I'm not done with it yet, but I'm getting closer to sort of where I'm going. There I go, adding the white Sharpie dots into that like macaroni colored yellow orange, which is super delightful. I love that word delightful. It's been making me happy lately. Oh, and then I'm checking out my focal point and I'm thinking that the whiteness is a little bit too stark. So I go around it with a Stabilo marks all in black and I kind of splatter it around a little. Not really splatter it around, but brush it around a little. And apparently this portion of the camera is a little extra bright because you can't see anything, but it's actually quite gray there. There, you got a kind of a glimpse. And a little more darkness around the edge. And I'm starting to really enjoy that sort of black halo effect that I have, and those falling X's are really nice. And it's coming together really well. I'm starting to really love the page at this point. That orange really just added so much to it. And I get out a pencil. Sorry for saying so much. Oh, I also should apologize. So my fingernails in this video, I've been doing an incredible amount of laser cutting and it stains my hands. And so they look dirty, but they're not, I promise. I do some mark making with this pencil, and this is a fairly hard pencil. I think it's a 5H, and so it's very, very hard, and that means that the lead, actually the graphite, does not transfer as easily, which is nice as a sort of a subtle kind of mark in here. And I'm quite literally just going to do some scribbling around. I put some tiny little X's in there. I circled some of the little hatch marks that I made with the oil pastel earlier. And then right here, there's this sort of big white cross area. And I'm just gonna scribble my pencil right in there. And there's a really good up close shot of that. It's so light that it's hard to see during the video, but you can really see it well in the up close pictures at the beginning and the end of the video. And then I had a stroke of genius. I had a light bulb moment. I love lines and I love stripes, and I really wanted to get some stripes into this page, and I thought I should put them in that circle, and that's going to be a really incredible focal point. So I use my oil pastels because I'm trying to stay away from the acrylic paint as much as I can on this project. I use my oil pastel in black, and then I'm using a blender stump, and I'm spreading that pastel out and making it a lot softer than it comes when it's just a direct application, but not as soft as if I had used my finger, because the oils in my fingers then what activate the oils in the pastels and really make it spread out nice. So just using the blending stump, and it's all coming together so nicely at this point. So that's about it. That will finish up this page. Thanks for joining me. As always, a good 20 minutes we spent here together. Coming up in 1 week from today, I am going to be doing a live Facebook Live video art journaling session. So join my Facebook group, find me my DeeDee Catron designer page on Facebook, and you can get all the details. Click going to the event. That way you have reminders, and that's going to be really fun. So a 2-hour live coming up in a week. And I will see you guys around. Here are your close-up shots again. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe. I have gotten back into the habit, I guess, of making more videos. I took a break quite around the holidays, but I'm really excited to be back. So subscribe and you will know exactly when things are coming up. See you soon.